Genlock Season 1 Finale Identity Crisis. So apologies for this review coming out so incredibly late. I actually did film it last night, but apparently I deleted it. I thought I transferred it, and apparently I transferred something else, and so I was super pissed. So that was an insane thing. It took me forever to watch the episode anyway, because yesterday I was out all day. So it was like the two big things I wanted to do this weekend was watch this season finale and finally start Devil May Cry 5 so I could actually start doing my videos for that. And it took me forever. Like, I didn't get to watch the episode. I don't think I got back last night until like 5:30 or something like that. So I didn't finish the episode till like 6 o'clock or something. So really crazy. And then I had to move because I couldn't do my review in my living room. I had to go in the bedroom because it was raining so insanely hard. It was too loud to actually record in my living room. So bunch of random issues. And then it was like, oh, yep, totally transferred the wrong thing, deleted the whole review. So here it is, incredibly late. But I did enjoy this episode. I thought it was a great season 1 finale. They did a lot of good stuff. They did some really good stuff, especially for anyone who doesn't know this by now, at least. There was a post-credit sequence, so go check that out, and then come back here. We can talk about it. I'll get to that, of course, towards the end of my review anyway, because it has a lot to do with the speculations going into season 2. But this was fun. First off, the action, utterly freaking amazing. Kazu and Cammy, when they teamed up in the beginning of the episode, or at least that first big fight of the episode, I love that, especially because they're kind of opposites. So we get to see Kazu being kind of brute strength, and like he throws his sword up in the air, and Cammy like catches it with her feet and then shoots it back down. And they're the ones who technically do the most damage outside of when they all team up, because they're the ones that chop off Nemesis's arm. So I thought that was super cool. We see like an upgraded version of the nanovirus, so I thought that was pretty sweet. And it like reforms the arm. It's making the sword, and it makes the sword disappear, back and forth. I thought that was cool. Nemesis itself had like an insane upgrade. It had like piercing tentacles and stuff, and it had like jet boosts and all that. So I was like, well, this is super cool. Very intense. So I definitely love the upgrade for that. Everything they did action-wise, I thought was phenomenal in this episode. Like, it just looked so good. Like them teaming up and doing the mind sync. It was great. And then, of course, they all team up at the end. They go, like, full Voltron on it. It totally looked like Power Rangers, too. It was funny because when they actually all do it together, they all turn into their colors and, like, shoot into the air. And I was like, that just takes me right back to, like, the original, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. But, Captain Planet, Voltron, Power Rangers, whatever you want to say it was all those things. But the action was really good. Like, I love the way it was handled. And, we have a really interesting moment in this episode where they're going through, they're doing the upgrades, they're constantly, syncing together, and so that screws up their uptime. And so everyone has to go back to their bodies, but of course Chase is like, well, my body's pretty much messed up as it is, like this is pretty much who I am, so he ends up staying, so now he's officially a mech permanently, and I thought that was cool, and especially towards the end of the episode where he realizes like, oh crap, now that I don't have to worry about uptime, I can, modify anything that I want. So I thought that was a cool element that we could see play out, in like the craziest of battles going into season 2. So I thought that was pretty interesting, and we might see how that affects the other characters. I guess technically he was upgraded the whole time, even when they did do the mind sync, so I guess technically there is no impact on that. But if they decide to go, in that story route, like if they sync with him while he has this altered state of mind, will that have any impact on the other characters, stuff like that. But I thought it was super cool. Like I said, the action was amazing. They get to the end and everybody's like switching weapons and flying around, and they just completely wiped out Nemesis, and I was like, this is great. I just thought it looked super cool. So love the action for sure. We get to see Leon actually use Sinclair's mech, so I thought that was pretty cool. Like, he's in the Holon, and he's basically put into a coma. When he tries to go back to his body, it's like, yeah, he may or may not wake up, but odds are we'll see him, if not in season 2, or anywhere early in season 2, they'll probably have him wake up like towards the end of the season. So I was like, all right, that's very interesting. They can actually go into that dynamic, and we actually get to see what happens there. They have one final scene for the season with Miranda and Chase. Actually, before I get to that, they finally did the scene where Miranda actually talks with Nemesis. I wish that lasted a lot longer. I wanted it to be like some moment where they have like at least half a conversation where they try, but it was literally just like she pops out of the her machine and is like, Julian, why are you doing this? And Nemesis stops, but he doesn't get to say like anything at all, and then Chase comes in and they go back to fighting. And I was like, I wish that lasted a little bit longer. Like, I wanted that to be like almost like 30 seconds or something, or like 15 seconds. Like, they just, something starts there at least. But unfortunately, it was just like that split second. I was like, I kind of wanted that to be like a legitimate moment, but unfortunately it was super quick. I would have liked a little bit more, but it still led to some amazing action. So it was like, oh well. And then we have Miranda and Chase have their moment at the end of the episode where it's like, maybe in the future we can do something, don't let it be too long before you say hey again. So I was like, all right, what the F is happening with the whole love triangle potential thing? I don't effing know. Because they did 2 scenes early on in the season where it was like, okay, Chase is spying on them. They're potentially talking about how they're together. I mentioned way back then, like, I really don't want it to be a love triangle because I couldn't possibly care less, especially with it being the beginning of the series. I didn't want to have to deal with a stupid love triangle storyline. Fortunately, that didn't really happen. But then they had the other scene where they were, like, in their, the conference room, and I forgot the guy's name, but he saw that Chase and Miranda were talking, so I was like, okay, so something's going on there. And then of course Chase was like kind of mad at him when they're doing the training thing, and then after that literally nothing happened. So it was like, I guess she's not with that guy, but they put those scenes in there and then they did literally nothing with him, and I'm fine, mostly due to the fact that I really did not want a stupid love triangle plot in the first season of a show. I don't want it at all unless that's like the basis of the show. But now it's just weird. It's like, all right, well, what do those scenes mean? What are they? Are they going to touch on that like at all? Or are they just going to throw like random flashbacks in, like this happened in between these 2 episodes of season 1, and that's why Miranda was like, sure, we can talk later. I don't know, but it was like clearly they were teasing something, and then they were just like, eh, and then just nothing happened. So I thought that was super weird, and I was like, okay, it avoids a really dumb love triangle plot that I didn't care for anyway. So that's really the main reason I'm kind of okay with it. But it's still like a weird plot line that they had in there for sure with like 3 separate scenes, and then it up and vanished, and it was just like, and that's it. So very odd. I thought that was super weird. Naturally, in the episode, we do find out everyone's alive, which I think a lot of people expected anyway. I totally can't think of the characters now. I was about to call him Miles, which is really funny because I did that when I did my review the first time. But that character, we find out they were all able to survive because Weller actually allowed for them to have like an imitation signal to basically stop the smoke. So I thought that was cool. They of course try it on Nemesis, and then they had already buffed it up, but then they're able to basically redo it again at the end after they capture Nemesis within the kind of Genlock program. So I thought that was pretty cool. Chase takes out Nemesis. He kind of slaps him on the face. He says, take out all these clones. I was trying to figure it out. I was like, I don't know if he's like being serious, where it's like there are other clones and fragments of the original Chase, which I feel like makes perfect sense as to why he wouldn't be able to talk. Because I was like, even if he was captured and corrupted and stuff, I was like, well, it's still him. Like, he knows, he still has his past and stuff like that. And so I was confused. I was like, well, why can't he speak? Like, he was already Genlock. It wasn't like he was such an early prototype. It was like he was already Genlock. He could talk normally. It doesn't make sense. But it would make a lot more sense now if it was, which oddly enough, I guess Rooster Teeth likes to do this, but, when you take fragments from AI, that tends not to work, as we have seen in the past from them. So maybe that's why Nemesis wasn't able to speak. I don't really know, but I was like, oh, it kind of makes sense, because if you take those fragments from him, that's why the main component was breaking down. But he was still the first one ready, because it was the original Chase. They just didn't have the other ones available yet. So we might see more, not necessarily Nemesis clones, but more clones of Chase, just lesser versions of him. So that should be interesting, because I would assume that that's what that meant, and it wasn't just a random thing where because he did say that line a bunch, like kill, copy, kill, clone, all that stuff. So he said it a bunch, but I was like, I feel like that was a legitimate moment, like kill all of these clones, but also it could have just been like a random thing where he just repeated a line that he said a bunch. But I think it makes more sense, especially considering the other there are a bunch of other random visuals of Chase, or I guess Nemesis technically showing up. So it's like, okay, it kind of makes sense with the visual and the words kind of mixing together, that there are other, lesser fragmentations of the original Chase out there that are still being kind of built up and controlled by Union. So we'll ultimately see how that plays out going into season 2. But definitely a fun episode. I thought it was cool. We'll see what happens with Leon as far as him being in the mech. Whatever will happen with Miranda and Chase. The team itself is actually kind of, seemingly, I guess they're going out on their own, because they're not going back to Anvil. And based on the dialogue that they had for Leon, where it's like, oh, we'll take him to, like we have like the best medical team or whatever, so he should be okay here. Excuse me. The way they kind of explained it, it almost seemed like, the doctor, she was taking him separately, like, we're taking him and he'll be good with us. And then they mentioned they weren't going to Anvil. So it seems like they're kind of just staying in their ship and just kind of, I don't know, like cruising around the country, protecting everybody. I don't really know. So they don't have like a set base. Based on how it was explained, it seemed like that's what they were teasing there. So it'll be interesting to see them kind of just be like, all right, we're keeping in touch with everybody. We're taking our mechanic. And then they'll just be there. They'll just be in contact with everybody, kind of free roaming between, base to base, just kind of doing what they can to protect everybody. So I thought that was cool. So I think that should be an interesting dynamic, which we got like a taste of. Technically, they were on the run the whole time when they were in the ship, but now it's like a bit calmer, and it'd be like, all right, we're good. We have our own ship, and that's kind of their base of operations, and they just take their base, to travel to different locations. But definitely thought it was a fun episode. And then, of course, you have the post-credit sequence, which I thought was super cool and very surprising because we find out that Sinclair is actually alive, which really blew my mind, mostly due to the fact that they even kind of reference it in the dialogue with Weller in episode 2 when they find out. It was like, okay, so you stole Sinclair's identity and stuff like that. He's most likely dead. And it was like, well, yeah, of course he's dead. That just makes sense. Like, if they know who the guy is, why would you leave him alive? Because then he could warn them. So it was like, of course he's dead because they stole his identity. They would have to kill the guy so he couldn't warn the good guys that they've been infiltrated. That just makes perfect sense. And then it turns out that Sinclair is not only alive, but he's inside the Union. And it's super confusing because I'm like, okay, they stole his information, but they didn't know what he looked like. And that's super weird to me because I'm like when they have that research, like, do the Union members just never take their helmets off, weird stuff like that. And I'm like, I feel like they would have known who the guy was. They would have known who Sinclair was, but that's not the case. So it brings up that weird question, like, how is he still alive if they knew enough to replace him, but they didn't know enough to catch him within their own community. So I thought that was a little weird. But the thing that excites me about it is the fact that he's within the Union, which means we should at least get like every freaking answer that we want to get that we didn't get from this season, which mostly revolves around what the F is the Union, who are they, anything about them. Sinclair is going to be our eyes and ears for that situation. Like, he could literally go to one base for 1 minute of time in season 2, and we will have 100% more information on the Union than we did, in this entire season, outside of, they have spies, and Madrani used to be a part of the Union, and that was it. They're seen as the bad guys. We have no other side of that story, and that's it. So with him going into it, that's our easy in for what the Union is. Of course, introducing all the new villains that are going to pop up since we don't have Nemesis. Nemesis was the face of the entire Union as far as the villains are concerned. So we're going to get our new main bosses, new sub-bosses, grunts, all that stuff, like who's going out into the fight, who are the generals that stay back, who are, commanders, all that stuff. So we get to have that now going into season 2. So I'm very excited for that with Sinclair, where he is our in to everything that hopefully he's our in for everything that we should need to know as far as, what the Union is, what they're going to be doing for season 2. And just who the bad guys are, as people. So extremely excited for that. I was very happy to see it. Based on the little bit that they showed, he's freaking out that he's a part of the Union still, or, he's undercover. He almost forgets his helmet. So they show, like, a bit of the comedic side where it's like, he's freaking out. He's in this fairly nervous type of situation. So I'm excited to see how that plays out for his character. I assume they won't actually kill him off, considering it was a twist reveal that he was actually alive. So it should be interesting to see him go through, get some information. My theory would be that, he's going to go in and it'll be like halfway through the season will be that big point where it's like, okay, I'm busted officially. I got to get the heck out of here. And then we also have to find out who knows that he's alive, or, who knows that he's a part of the Union or hiding within the Union right now. So that question's up in the air as well, as far as what good guys know that he's still there or that he's even alive right now. So excited to see how things play out going into season 2 for sure, but definitely love this season. Without a doubt, love the finale. Thought they did a really good job on it. I hope we do get a season 2. I'm pretty sure we will. It seems like a lot of people enjoy the show, so we just kind of have to wait and see how everything ends up playing out. But I hope we get a season 2. This is super random, but Loot Anime does have a Genlock item coming up for this month or next month or whenever it's coming up. You can get Loot Anime and it'll have Genlock in it. This isn't sponsored, by the way. I wish it was, but it's not. It's just to let you guys know. I assume, they say it's an exclusive item. With the show being so brand new, I assume it's just going to be a shirt, if I'm being totally honest, because I feel like that would be insane for them to have announced it. And it's like, yeah, we got, within the span of a month, they designed a toy and everything, even though they knew the show was coming out way ahead of time. So it's possible that it's a figure, but my theory would be that it's just going to end up being a cool t-shirt, which is still sweet. But I just wanted to throw that out there so you guys knew, in case you didn't know that already. But Loot Anime does have a Genlock item. It's like their big feature. Like, obviously Genlock being the new show, it's like, hey, get an exclusive Genlock item. So thought that was cool. Also, for anyone who is within the Rooster Teeth world, Red vs. Blue is out as well. Red vs. Blue premiered on the same day as the finale did, so they're kind of keeping things going with their big shows, because the week after Ruby ended, Genlock premiered, and the week that Genlock ends, They premiere, I think we're on season 17 of Red versus Blue. It's hard for me to tell because I haven't been watching it for that long. I actually binge watched like the whole series within like the last couple months. I think I watched like everything from probably like, I think it was like November to January. I watched like all like 1 through 15, and then I was able to find 16, and I watched all of that as well. So I just caught up like very recently, and I was like, oh, I've been missing out. I've seen clips here and there, and then it was like, cool. So we'll see what happens with the new season. Not to give a random review on the last season, but I kind of felt the same way as a lot of people did. I was like, okay, this was funny. Some stuff was funny here and there, but it was like, yeah, it was just like it just didn't hook you like some of more recent seasons, especially, well, obviously the season before last, but even the last season was like, okay, that was still entertaining to watch. Just the stuff that they did there was like actually still very interesting. So the very last season was just like, not so much. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what they end up fixing and changing around, and we'll see how things are gonna go going forward. But definitely enjoyed this season of Genlock. Hope we get a season 2 without a doubt. Naturally, would love to know what you guys thought about this episode, so please put your comments down in the comment section below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, least favorite parts about it. Are you guys going to keep going? Odds are, if granted it's only 8 episodes, but odds are if you watched all 8, you're probably going to go into Genlock season 2 if we end up getting one. But we'll let us know where you guys land as far as the way the season ended. I thought it was a great ending. I can personally say that means something because I did not think RWBY had a good ending this year. It was just like, that kind of just sucked as an ending to me as far as the actual finale episode. So I was happy. I was like, I liked this ending. I thought it was good. Good little teaser cliffhanger at the very end there. So I was happy. I was definitely happy with that. But I'm definitely looking forward to a season 2. I really do hope the show ends up getting one. I would not be surprised at all if they start pumping out products for this show within the next couple of months. Shirts and figures and all that good stuff. But we'll love to know what you guys thought about this season, this finale, how you expect things to go, your expectations and hopes going into season 2. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.